Hello and welcome to the Aesthetic Conversion Podcast. My name is Jared Rohr. I'm the CEO and owner and founder of Aesthetic Conversion, a web agency specifically niched into the field of aesthetic medicine. We don't take any clients that are not within the field of aesthetic medicine because we have made it our obsession to be in this industry and in this niche. And I wanted to start this podcast or this education series to illuminate the local business owner. I started this business in the first place because I was working for an incredible key opinion leader in the space, and I just noticed how many people looked at him with dollar signs in their eyes, and they were constantly just trying to take advantage of him. It felt like people were always trying to get him at their mercy, kind of a thing. And I hated it. I hated seeing people trying to take advantage of somebody who, truthfully, was only out to improve and see incredible patient outcomes. So I wanted to start our business kind of as a way to stand in that gap. And this education series is a way to just build up that tool belt of yours as a clinic owner, or maybe as a manager, or maybe as a marketer. I want you to be so well informed about your marketing funnel strategy, about your marketing strategy overall, that as you're partnering with agencies, as you're partnering with freelancers or with whoever, or hiring people onto your team, you have solid metrics that you can measure success by. Because how often is it, tell me if this resonates with you, how often is it that you are coming up with new ideas to bring people into your clinic, and you're like, well, I don't know, I saw one influencer do this, maybe that'll work. Or I heard about one clinician doing this, maybe that'll work. And or I heard SEO is important, we should probably do SEO. Oh, I heard if you're not, constantly posting on Instagram 20 times a day, then you're barely in business. There is so much noise of people trying to get your money. Okay. Oftentimes somebody is just telling you this so they can get your money, and typically they don't have the expertise that you actually need. And you find yourself locked in the trunk of your own car here while somebody else is driving. The purpose of this podcast is kind of to put you back in the driver's seat, whether you are the practice manager, whether you are the owner, whether you are a marketing director. And I want to put you back in the driver's seat of your marketing efforts, because, I always like to tell clinicians and owners that you need to get, let's see if this works. For those of you, I guess some people will be listening, some people will be watching on YouTube or some other platform. I'm going to be drawing, so occasionally if you want to reference this back, then hop onto the YouTube channel and watch it from there as well. Let me see. Is that good? Yeah. Okay. So you need to get an A+ in 3 categories. You need to get an A+ in marketing, which is driving attention to your business. You need to get an A+ in sales, which is converting that attention into a new patient. And you need to get an A+ in product delivery, which is fulfilling on the promises that you just made in the marketing and sales side. Okay. So I always say that as a business owner, you got to get an A+ in all 3 categories. So during this podcast or during this series, it's going to allow you to rate yourself and say, man, how am I doing in the marketing category? How am I doing in the sales category? How am I doing in the product delivery category? Now, what I will say about product delivery is that is typically the strongest suit of most clinics, because you've got all of these incredibly well-trained injectors, incredibly well-trained practitioners who have gone to all the courses, they've gone to the conferences, they've got the training, and they know how to deliver filler very well. They know how to do talks very well. They've learned the latest thread techniques. They've learned how to use special lasers to solve certain skin conditions, or if it's a plastic surgeon, they know all the newest techniques. Oftentimes, the gap between success in a clinic is not the amount of services you offer. It's not it's not even often the caliber of your outcomes, because most people have decent outcomes. I have found, being a web agency, that it is much more rare than it is common to look at the before and afters of a clinic I'm working with and say, ugh, yikes, like that is not good. In fact, I can't tell you a single time that I've looked at the before and afters of a clinic I'm working with and say, oh no, I don't know if these guys should be in business. It's very frequent that people know what they're doing, at least at a baseline. Now, what? Are there people that produce amazing, fantastical results? Of course there are. There's people who are at the top of their game and they do a great job. But is that the gap between success and failure? I don't believe so. I believe the gap is people not being trained on the marketing side, not being trained on the sales side. You went to school to be in medicine. Oftentimes, you didn't go to school to be a business owner. I think Sheila Nazarian is a great example of this. She went back to school to get a business degree because she knew how important it was going to be to run her business like a business owner. So, I think it's awesome that Sheila did that. And there's a lot of other people who do that as well. But hopefully this podcast can maybe be a substitute for the business degree, at least a little bit, so you can learn enough mindset to drive and move the needle forward in your business. So I want to talk a little bit in this. I want to give you the purpose of this first podcast is that I want to give you a general overview of my philosophy, what I believe about sales and marketing. And if we align, then stay on the journey, subscribe, whatever else you have to do, subscribe, put the notifications on, whatever else you have to do in order to get this podcast delivered into your inbox on a regular basis. I want to be able to give you a little bit of my philosophy, and if we align on that, then I want to teach you everything that I know. Because, I think there's probably an argument to be made. Oh, Jared, if everybody knows what you know, then won't they not want to work with you? And I'm like, honestly, I would rather the people that aren't in a financial position to work with me yet to have so much training from me, so much training from the resources that I've put out there, and between and all of the assets that we've given them access to, that by the time we actually work together, they say, oh yeah, like that's perfectly aligned. It looks like you're improving that vertical for us, that vertical for us. I want to help create a smarter industry, because let's also be honest, private equity is coming in, and private equity is coming in fast, and they are good business owners, and they know everything about the marketing and the sales side. And oftentimes I'm hearing right now rumblings of clinicians being scared of private equity coming in because they're like, oh, I don't know how you can compete. It's like, you can compete. You can get the tools. You can get the tools that you can have access to the same information that they've got. The only resource that you might not have is maybe the funding for your marketing efforts, but there are ways around that. So I want to give you all of that. So let's talk about what your digital sales funnel needs to look like. For those of you listening, I am drawing it right now. I'm drawing it poorly though. There we go. Let's draw it right here. There it is. Drawing, sorry for those of you listening only. All right, so this is your digital sales funnel. Your digital sales funnel is in 4 stages. Your digital sales funnel comes in 4 stages. You have fascination, you have acquisition, you have conversion, and engagement. This is kind of my own little philosophy on your digital sales funnel. I think there are people that will say, oh, well, there's more, there's 5 steps, there's whatever. There's tons of documentation on this. I like to keep it simple, and I want to have a cute little acronym with it. Okay, so I came up with FACE, right? Because we're in aesthetics. Okay, so fascination is the first stage. And what does that mean? Fascination is your clinic's ability to get eyeballs on your business. Okay, so stage 1 of your marketing efforts is, how do we get eyeballs on our business? And oftentimes people say, oh my gosh, well, it's got to be social media. It's got to be this. Well, it's got to be this. And it's got to be this. There are a myriad of ways that you can do it. I was just talking with a clinic a couple days ago. They said, honestly, the biggest way that we get traffic and eyeballs on our business is through local referral partners. There are I was talking with somebody a year ago, and they said, you know what we do is we send coupons out to business owners locally for them to gift to their wives, and it works for us like gangbusters. There are tons of strategies you can use, but the goal is, how do I get my business in front of the right eyeballs? Okay. Now there are 2 categories that you can get your business out through. It's going to be through paid outlets. It's going to be through organic outlets. Okay. Examples of paid outlets are Google ads, are Facebook ads, are billboards, magazines, influencers, TikTok ads, LinkedIn ads, any way that you pay for access to a group of eyeballs. So we will at some point have some sort of an influencer episode, and we'll discuss selecting your demographics so that you can select your influencers that you want to partner with, because it's not about going with somebody who has the most eyeballs. It's about going with somebody who has the right eyeballs, right? The people that are going to convert into your sales process. Okay. So when it comes to partnering with influencers, when it comes to buying ad space in magazines, when it comes to buying ad space on billboards, or paying for sponsorship spots in certain populous areas in your city, or buying Google ads or buying Meta ads, Meta/Facebook, is all about getting in front of the right eyeballs. Okay. So there's the paid side, and the paid side is a faucet. It is an on and off switch. If you stop paying for access, you stop getting access. Okay. So the paid side, you turn it on and poof, you're in front of the eyeballs relatively right away. If it's a magazine, maybe it takes a month for it to be published. If it's a billboard, maybe it takes a few weeks for it to get put up there. If it's a Facebook ad, maybe it takes a few days for it to get approved, whatever it is. But you will immediately start to get the exposure when you use the paid side, okay? And your leads will be typically a pretty steady cost per acquisition. The lead is just the contact information of the person that you are trying to impress, or the contact information of your potential patients, okay? Then we have the organic side. Organic can be SEO. It can be Google My Business. It could be social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. It can also be referral partners locally. It can be you getting involved in local charities, or I guess you're technically paying there, but it's more of an organic relationship that you're building locally, so you could argue one of the other. Organic is anything that you are doing to build momentum. Anything you're doing to build momentum for relatively free. Nothing on the organic side is necessarily free, because it's either going to cost you time or you're going to pay an employee to do it. So no matter what, like, you're going to be paying something in some manner. However, the organic side builds momentum. So let's say for SEO, for example, let's say for the first month you're doing SEO, and it's like, oh my gosh, I paid this much money and I'm not getting a whole lot more business from it. It's like, okay, perfect. Well, are you ranking more? It's like, well, yeah, I think I'm showing that I'm ranking a little bit higher. Okay, great. So let's do it again for another month. You do it for another month, all of a sudden you're ranking more and your traffic has gone up. It's like, wait a second, this might be working. Then the third month you're ranking like crazy all over the place, and your traffic starts to surge, and you're actually seeing the fruits of it. So oftentimes with an organic plan, whether it is social media, whether it is SEO, whether it is building referral relationships, it can take months and months and months to build the momentum that you need. But once you've got it, holy smokes, it is incredible for you, because now you've got this captive audience, and now you've got this speed built that even if you stopped, which I'm one to say no, you shouldn't, but even if you stopped, you would still get some return out of it. And Alex Hermosi talks about this, where they were investing for his business. I believe it was for Gym Launch. And sorry, Alex, if I'm wrong here. They were investing somewhere, I believe, around $700,000, $800,000 a month into ads, or maybe it was like $500,000 a month into ads. It was something that was a lot. Okay. And then they took 6 to 8 months and they built a killer social media presence, and they took their overall budget down from 800,000 to like 200 or 180 or something like that. It was like they cut it into like a fourth or a third, because they built the speed on the organic side. But it took time, because if they would have just done a full stop and then only invested into organic, they wouldn't have been getting much leads, because you turn the faucet off on the paid side. Now, as of today, as of November 27th, 2024, I typically like to tell business owners that per full-time provider at your clinic, you should be seeing somewhere around 450 to 550 hits a month onto your site, somewhere around there. So if you're brand new to marketing and you're not doing a whole lot, get Google Analytics installed. 450 to 500. Get Google Analytics installed onto your website so you can track traffic, and every single outlet and avenue that you use, push those eyeballs to your website so you can track your exposure. Because if you're not, then you're just guessing. You got to track your numbers. So if you're getting 450 to 500 hits a month onto your website from all of those marketing channels, you should be building some speed for yourself per full-time provider. So if you've got 2, then you're looking at maybe 900. If you've got 3, again, you can 1,500. I don't know. You can do the math for yourself, and you can track these are not gospel numbers. These are just things that I've seen work for people. Okay, then let's talk about acquisition. So once you have fascinated your audience, you have your fascination stage, which is like, okay, great, we've got the eyeballs. Then you have acquisition. Acquisition is how do we then take those eyeballs and turn it into a lead? How do we get the contact information of everybody that just saw us, okay? And I'm going to recommend that you do that through a lead magnet, okay? A lead magnet is something that's either a discount or free that people say, yeah, I would exchange my contact information for that. The most recent studies are saying that that free thing needs to be valued at $20 or more, or maybe $50 or more now. So if it's a discount on services, that's awesome. If it is a free skincare gift with your first appointment, whatever it is, when people are like, oh my gosh, yes, I'll give you my information for that. Okay. You don't have the full lead unless you have their first name, last name, phone number, and email. Okay. You need all 4 of those magical little credentials. Okay. So whatever lead magnet you offer, try to get their full name, email, and phone number so that you can reach out to them on all of your different marketing channels afterwards. Okay. Acquisition is how do we get the lead? And again, we're just doing a general overview here. We're going to be going in depth on every single one of these, layers throughout the podcast. Okay. So acquisition. Now we're going to talk about conversion. Conversion is how do we take the lead and how do we sell them effectively? Oh, by the way, your acquisition, you should be seeing right now, what I'm seeing in the aesthetics industry is that if you are getting somewhere around 5% conversion rate on your site, so 5% of your traffic is turning into a lead, you're doing a pretty good job. During the month of October, though, for example, like it fluctuates because during October, I saw almost an average of it was like 15 to 17% across all the clinics that we manage. I was seeing regularly from people that were starting to work with us during that month that they were getting around 10 to 11% during that month from whatever agency they were with or if they were running it themselves. So like certain months could be different, but if you're averaging 5, 6, 7, 8%, you're probably doing a really good job. Minimum acceptable conversion rate for the world is like 2% or something like that. It's like if you can get 2%, you're doing a good job. I personally have seen with clinics, if you're getting 5% or higher, you've got a great offer, you've got a great lead magnet on page, you are getting your target demographic, like all of the dials are tuned. So, is 5 to 8% a number that you say, oh my gosh, if I don't have 5 to 8%, I'm firing somebody? Probably not. I would say if you're not getting 5 to 8%, if you're getting 4 or 3, that's where you question, man, is my offer good enough? Am I getting the right eyeballs on our business? That's where you just question, because the goal here is that the numbers I'm going to show you is that it'll allow you to see where the pipe is clogged. Because I anecdotally, I was consulting for this plastic surgeon, and the plastic surgeon said, I was just looking at their numbers, giving them an evaluation and saying, hey, here's what you need to do next to improve your marketing efforts. And the plastic surgeon said, well, I don't want you to worry about our website because we're getting a new one. We know it's not good. We're getting a new one. We just paid $50,000 for a new one. So we know it's not good and we need to do something else. And I said, what are you talking? I was looking at this thing. I said, this thing is beautiful and it should be converting. Maybe you should throw a better offer on page, but it should be converting. And they said, well, we're not getting any leads from it. And this plastic surgeon had 9 full-time providers at their clinic. And I said, really? I said, well, let's look at traffic. They're like, well, we don't track traffic. And I said, okay, that's a problem. We tracked it for a month. And for 9 full-time providers, they had like 700 hits onto their site. 700 for 9 full-time providers. I called them and I said, these are business killing numbers. You have to get more traffic. Your conversion rate is fine. They were converting at like 3%, 4%, which is like, let's adjust the offer a little bit, but at least you're going the right direction. So I told them you should these are business killing numbers. They're like, we know we're struggling. I said, you need to run Google ads like right now. Paid media for them the lead was a little more expensive, but it let the lead flow through right away. So they started a Google ad campaign, and sure enough, they went right back up. So you should be getting somewhere around, let's just say 5%. Now, the reason that the reason I give you these numbers is because, just like what I showed with that plastic surgeon, they will indicate where the problem is. And when we just guess, we spend 50 grand on a new website when we really should have just been upping the exposure on the top level. Very unfortunate for them, but they're thriving now, so that's good. Next is conversion. How do we then get that contact information? How do we convert them appropriately? Studies are showing that, I don't know if I buy these numbers, if I'm honest, because I've seen it come from like web companies, and I'm like, I don't know. They say that 56% of leads that come through your website should sit their butts in a patient chair, which I think is very good. I just think that's really high. I think 40% is probably something that's a little more achievable and realistic. 40% is like the majority, or almost the majority are coming in and sitting their butt in a chair. But a lot of the studies are showing that like 56% of people who submit contact information on your website should be coming down in and sitting down in a patient chair for a consultation. So we can say 56% here, but maybe I'll just put 40 in our little chart. Now, what are the factors for conversion, for getting people in? It's going to be the speed that you answer. I had a client once that said, "Hey, Jared, we want to change our auto text that goes out." I said, "What do you want to change it to?" And they said, "Well, we want to change the auto text to say, please give us 24 to 48 hours to respond to your lead, to your inquiry." And I said, "I promise you that your local competition will have treated this lead before you call them, if that's the case." And they're like, "Oh, well, we just don't have the time." It's like, perfect. It sounds like you're busy. It sounds like you've got profit. It sounds like you should invest into a stronger process for your front desk. And they're like, "Oh, maybe we should." And they did. They reinvested into that. Instead of slowing down the flow, they reinvested into how to speed up that section. And they launched a second clinic 8 to 10 months later, because they had the speed. They were just about to, hamstring themselves. So the conversion could apply to the speed that you get back to the lead, which I think the gold standard right now is like 1 to 3 minutes or something like that. If you get back to them within 1 to 3 minutes, it's like, holy smokes, like you're converting. Is that realistic for everybody? No, it's not. But you can have autoresponders go out. So somebody submits a form on your site, and you have an automatic text through Lead AR or through Podium or through your EMR potentially, or through Go High Level. Any tool could do this, where you auto respond with, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for submitting the blah 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 blah. When can you come in for your appointment?" They don't know that it's that it's a bot, and they text, "Oh my gosh, I'd love to come in next week." This has bought you a minute or two for your staff to be ready to get back to this person, because if you're crushing all of these other levels up top, then hopefully you've got so many leads coming in that, it is a struggle for your front desk to get back to everybody, but that's their job, isn't it? They are the appointment setters. Okay, so we have talked about eyeballs on your business through fascination. We have talked about how to convert those eyeballs into a lead through acquisition. We have talked about how to take that lead and convert it to sit their butt in a patient chair through the conversion stage. Lastly, we're going to talk about E, which is engagement. How do we take the lead and funnel it back up to the top over and over and over and over again? Okay, so engagement is going to be how do you re-engage existing patients, and how do you re-engage lost leads? And that's going to be through things like events. That's going to be through things like membership programs. That's going to be through things like e-blasts. That's going to be through things like text message blasts. Anything that re-engages that list, whether it's through an offer or whatever. You want to award loyalty, and you want to remind people that you exist. People don't need new sales often. They just need reminders that you're around. The more often that you can just remind them that you exist, they'll be like, "Oh, that's right. I can't tell you how many, I have an executive assistant And she said, oh, do you want to get rid of, it's this company called 2daybanners.com. Do you want to get rid of 2daybanners.com? I was like, no. If I get rid of it, I won't remember that I can use them. And they send me emails once or twice a week. It's fine. I delete them. But I know that the second I need a banner for a conference, 2daybanners.com guaranteed is going to be who I go to. But it's because I keep them in my little marketing ecosystem. Does everybody do that? Probably not. But if a couple of people did that for you, imagine what that would do for your business if you just reminded them on a regular basis that you're around and that you care. Okay, so that's the entire marketing funnel. I know that was a lot, but I wanted to give you perspective on how I think and where my mindset is at. Because every single episode of this podcast is going to be from the lens of that marketing funnel. Everything is going to be from the lens of that marketing funnel. Every episode is going to be from the lens of the marketing funnel. So you'll probably find that I'm going to reference back to this first episode on a regular basis. If you haven't seen the very first episode, please go back and watch the first episode. Now, I want to do something special for everybody, especially watching this very first episode. We are launching a data tracking software. And in fact, it is launched. We've been soft launching it internally. We want to launch a data tracking service for you to effectively track your funnel. And we want to give you your very first month free. So if you go to aestheticconversion.com/data tracking, all one word, aestheticconversion.com/data tracking, we will get you your first month free. You can test it out. We'll give you your numbers, and then we'll also give you a report at the end that says, looks like these are the areas in your funnel that you're a little bit weak. And if you improve those, I swear to you, your business will thrive. That's 4 numbers. It's 4 numbers that you need to track. Yes, there are hundreds and dozens of other KPIs that you can track internally, but those 4 numbers, eyeballs on your business, the percentage of which those eyeballs turn into a lead, the percentage, there's this, like, for any of you listening, or any of you watching and listening, there's like these auto things that Apple does. Let's see. If you hold up like different signals, yeah, there it is. If you hold up different hand signals, it'll give you effects. And it wasn't turned off apparently on my my Riverside while I was recording. Anyway, those 4 numbers will give you indicators as to whether or not you are succeeding in growing your business. Okay, there are a bunch of other KPIs you could be tracking, but if you track those 4, I swear to you, you will start to see momentum in your business. You will start to see the light on the other side. You'll start to be the strategic brain behind your success. You won't have to feel like you have to pull all of these experts to do everything for you. You'll be able to feel like you are implementing the strengths of others around you. So really grateful for you to watch this very first episode or listen to this very first episode. And make sure that you like it. If you got a lot out of this, please share it. I'm sure I'll clip some of the stuff and put it on social media. But yeah, if you, I would love for you to share this with people. I want this industry to grow. I want the average business owner, and I want the average clinic owner to feel like they're in the driver's seat and feel like they can be competitive in a growing private equity market. And through education resources like this, I think we can do it. And I think that the scope that the aesthetics industry can be at, the scale that it can be at, we haven't even tapped yet. And I think if we can educate the market a little bit more and we can grow as a group, there's no telling how big we can make this thing. So thank you for joining me on the journey. Let me know if there's anything that you want to hear about. Please let me know. If you are, a potential guest, or somebody like, oh my gosh, Jared, you should interview so-and-so and talk to them about blah, 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 blah. I would love to. Just refer them over to, you can just send them to my email, jared@aestheticconversion.com, and I'll get back to them. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon.